Lena had never expected to inherit anything from her aunt, but when the letter arrived, she felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Her aunt had always been a mysterious woman. She lived alone in a house at the edge of town, surrounded by trees and a garden that seemed wild and untamed. Lena had visited the house a few times as a child and remembered it as magical. She had run through the halls, imagining adventures and hidden treasures, and smelled the flowers that grew everywhere. The thought that she might now own that house made her heart beat faster. When Lena reached the house, she stopped in her car and stared at it. The excitement from the letter faded quickly. The house looked nothing like she had remembered. The paint on the walls was chipped and faded, and large cracks ran along the brick. The roof had holes, and some shingles were missing. The windows were dusty, and a few were broken. The garden had become a jungle. Weeds grew taller than Lena's waist, and the flowers she remembered were buried beneath the overgrowth. Even the fence, which had once been white and neat, was leaning and broken. "This is supposed to be mine?" Lena whispered, feeling a strange mix of disappointment and worry. She stepped out of her car and walked toward the front door. Every step she took made the gravel crunch loudly, as if announcing her arrival. The door was old and heavy, and the paint was peeling. When she pushed it open, the door creaked loudly, revealing a dark hallway inside. Dust covered the floor, and cobwebs hung from the corners of the ceiling. The air smelled musty, with a faint scent of old wood and dampness. Lena felt a shiver run down her spine. The house looked abandoned. Furniture was scattered in the rooms, but it was old and torn. Curtains hung in tatters, and broken dishes lay on the kitchen floor. It seemed as if no one had lived here for years. Still, Lena did not turn back. Something inside her said she had to explore the house. She began to walk through the rooms carefully. Her footsteps echoed in the empty halls, and shadows moved across the walls in the faint sunlight that came through the dirty windows. Lena noticed small details that made her stop. A cracked mirror reflected her worried face. A painting on the wall had fallen and lay face down on the floor. A chair in the corner had been chewed by some animal. Despite the ruined condition, Lena felt a strange connection to the house. It was as if the walls held memories of her aunt and perhaps secrets waiting to be discovered. She moved toward the kitchen, where she noticed a small wooden box sitting on the old table. It was simple, but there was something about it that drew her attention. The box was locked, but hanging nearby was a small key tied with a piece of string. Lena picked up the key and held it in her hand. It felt heavier than she expected. Her heart began to race. She had no idea what she would find inside, but she felt certain it would be important. Taking a deep breath, she inserted the key into the lock and turned it. The box opened with a soft click. Inside, there was a bundle of old letters tied with a faded ribbon. The papers were yellowed with age, and the ink had faded, but the handwriting was neat and careful. Alongside the letters, there was a small locket. It was delicate, made of silver, and had intricate patterns engraved on it. Lena picked up the locket and opened it. Inside was a tiny portrait of a young woman she did not recognize. Curious, she untied the ribbon and began reading the letters. The letters were addressed to her aunt and were full of stories about a hidden part of the house. They spoke of a room that no one had ever found, a place where her aunt had kept something very valuable. The letters hinted at puzzles and clues that would lead to this hidden room. Lena could feel her excitement growing. The house was not just old and ruined. It was full of mysteries. She decided to explore further. Lena went upstairs and found a long hallway with several closed doors. The floorboards creaked under her feet, but she moved carefully. One door, at the very end of the hallway, looked different from the others. It was smaller, and the paint was newer, almost as if it had been replaced recently. Lena tried the handle, but it was locked. She remembered the letters she had read. They spoke about a key hidden somewhere in the house. Lena looked around the hallway. She noticed a small painting on the wall that seemed slightly crooked. Carefully, she lifted the painting and found a tiny metal key taped to the back. Her hands shook as she took the key and unlocked the door. The door opened to reveal a narrow staircase leading down. Lena held her breath and stepped inside. The staircase led to a small basement. The air was colder here, and the smell of damp stone filled her nose. The basement was dimly lit by a small window near the ceiling. As her eyes adjusted to the light, she noticed shelves lining the walls. Old books, jars filled with strange objects, and pieces of furniture were stacked neatly. In the center of the room was a large chest covered in dust. Lena approached it carefully. The chest was locked, but there was a combination lock on it. Lena remembered the letters again. They had mentioned that her aunt had left a hint for the combination somewhere in the house. She quickly ran back upstairs, scanning each letter for clues. After a few minutes, she realized that the numbers were hidden in the date written on the envelope of the first letter. Using the hint, she returned to the basement and entered the combination. The chest clicked open. Inside, Lena found something she had never expected. There were bundles of old jewelry, small trinkets, and coins from long ago. But there was also a stack of notebooks. She opened one and found that it was her aunt's journal. The pages were full of stories, thoughts, and secrets. There were sketches of the house and notes about hidden places and treasures she had collected over the years. Lena could not believe what she was seeing. The ruined house she had thought was worthless was actually full of history and treasures. Her aunt had not left her just a house. She had left her a story, a mystery, and a chance to discover things that no one else had ever known. As Lena sat in the basement, surrounded by the letters, the journal, and the chest, she felt a new sense of hope. The house might have been ruined on the outside, but inside, it was full of life, memories, and secrets waiting to be uncovered. She smiled and whispered to herself, "This is just the beginning." Lena knew that the ruined house would take work to restore, but she was no longer afraid. She felt that her aunt had planned this all along. The house was a challenge, a puzzle, and a gift. Lena had no idea how much it would change her life, but she was ready to find out. She stood up and looked around the room, imagining the adventures that awaited her. The ruined house was no longer a disappointment. It was a treasure waiting for her to explore. The next morning, Lena woke up early. She could hear birds singing outside, and the sunlight filtered through the broken curtains. The ruined house no longer felt frightening. It felt like a place full of possibilities. Lena remembered the basement chest she had found the day before. The letters, the journal, and the jewelry were all there, waiting for her to explore more. She decided that today she would start uncovering the secrets of the house room by room. Lena started in the living room. The furniture was old and dusty, but she imagined how it must have looked when her aunt lived there. She cleaned a small sofa and sat down, opening one of the notebooks from the chest. The notebook was filled with her aunt's handwriting. There were sketches of the house, with arrows pointing to hidden doors and secret compartments. Lena traced the lines with her finger. Some of the sketches showed places she had already seen, like the basement, but others pointed to areas she had never explored. One sketch showed the fireplace in the living room. Lena walked to the old stone fireplace. The fire had long been cold, and ashes covered the bottom. But as she examined it closely, she noticed that one of the stones looked different. It was smoother and slightly darker than the others. She pressed it with her fingers, and suddenly, the stone moved. Behind it was a small hidden compartment. Lena reached inside and pulled out a thin, leather-bound book. The book was strange. Its cover had no title, only a small emblem engraved in the corner. Lena opened it and found it full of notes about her aunt's adventures in the town and the surrounding forest. There were maps of the area and lists of plants, animals, and places that Lena had never noticed before. One page caught her attention. It was a detailed sketch of a large oak tree at the edge of the property. Beneath the tree, her aunt had drawn a small X mark. Lena felt a thrill run through her body. The sketch looked like a map leading to something hidden outside the house. She decided to explore the yard. The garden was overgrown, but Lena did not mind. She pushed through the weeds and climbed over the broken fence. Birds flew away as she moved, and the air smelled fresh. She walked slowly, searching for the large oak tree from the notebook. After a few minutes, she found it. Its trunk was wide, and its branches stretched high into the sky. Lena circled the tree, looking for the X mark. Then she noticed a small stone near the roots. It was shaped strangely, almost like a tiny door. Lena knelt down and brushed away the dirt. The stone moved easily. Underneath, she found a narrow tunnel, just big enough for her to crawl into. Her heart raced with excitement. She remembered the letters she had read about hidden parts of the house. Could this be one of them? She took a deep breath and climbed into the tunnel. It was dark and damp, but Lena could see a faint light at the end. She crawled carefully, feeling the walls of earth on either side. After a few minutes, she reached a small underground room. The room was filled with strange but beautiful things. There were shelves lined with old books, jars of dried herbs, and boxes full of sparkling stones. Lena noticed a small table in the center. On it lay a folded piece of cloth. She picked it up and unfolded it. Inside was a delicate silver necklace with a tiny pendant shaped like a key. Lena held it in her hand, turning it over carefully. She had no idea what it unlocked, but it felt important. She spent hours exploring the underground room. There were notebooks with more of her aunt's writings, lists of plants and their uses, and even a few old photographs. One photo showed her aunt standing outside the same house, smiling, with a group of people Lena did not recognize. Another photo showed a small ceremony of some kind, with candles and decorations. Lena felt like she was discovering a hidden side of her aunt's life that no one had ever known. After a while, Lena climbed back up to the surface. The sun was beginning to set, casting golden light over the garden. She felt tired but happy. The ruined house was no longer just an abandoned building. It was a place full of stories and secrets. Lena could not wait to explore more. The next day, she decided to focus on the rooms upstairs. She started with her aunt's old bedroom. The door creaked as she opened it, but inside, the room was cleaner than the others. Dust covered the furniture, but the walls still held a sense of warmth. Lena noticed a large wardrobe in the corner. She opened it and found it full of her aunt's clothes, but at the back of the wardrobe, there was a small hidden drawer. Inside the drawer, she found another bundle of letters. These letters were different. They were written by people from the town, thanking her aunt for her kindness, gifts, and help over the years. Some of the letters told stories of people who had been helped quietly, without anyone knowing. Lena read each one carefully. She realized that her aunt had been loved by many, and that she had quietly made the lives of others better. Lena felt proud and inspired. She wanted to honor her aunt's memory by taking care of the house and continuing her work in some way. Later, Lena explored the other bedrooms. She found small trinkets hidden under beds, drawings pinned to walls, and even some handmade toys in one corner. Each discovery made her feel closer to her aunt. She could imagine her aunt walking through the rooms, smiling, arranging things, and leaving little surprises for anyone who might come after her. Lena began to understand that the ruined house had been a gift, not just of property, but of memories, stories, and love. One evening, Lena returned to the basement with the notebook she had found in the living room. She carefully studied the maps her aunt had drawn. One map showed a small pond at the back of the property. There was an X on a rock near the water. Lena realized that her aunt had hidden something there as well. The next morning, she planned to explore the pond, hoping to find another secret. As she prepared for bed that night, Lena felt a new sense of excitement. The ruined house, which had seemed worthless at first, was full of adventure and history. Every room, every corner, every hidden compartment held a story waiting to be discovered. Lena smiled, thinking about what she might find next. She knew that the house would take a lot of work to restore, but she no longer cared about its broken walls or peeling paint. She had found something far more valuable: the connection to her aunt, the secrets of the house, and the thrill of discovery. Lena lay down, feeling a warmth she had not felt in years. The house was no longer ruined in her eyes. It was alive with stories, mysteries, and treasures. She closed her eyes, imagining the adventures that awaited her tomorrow. The hidden places, the letters, the underground room, and the secret pond were just the beginning. Lena knew that her life was about to change in ways she could never have imagined. The next morning, Lena woke up feeling excited. She had spent the previous days discovering letters, hidden rooms, and secret compartments. The house, which had seemed ruined and empty, was now full of mysteries waiting for her to explore. Today, she decided to focus on the backyard and the pond her aunt had mentioned in the notebook. The backyard was overgrown with tall grass and wildflowers. Lena pushed through the weeds carefully, following the map drawn in her aunt's notebook. She recognized the landmarks, an old stone bench, a twisted tree, and finally, the small pond. The water was clear, reflecting the sky and the trees surrounding it. Lena noticed a rock near the edge of the pond with an X marked on it, just as her aunt's map had shown. Lena approached the rock and brushed away dirt and leaves. Beneath it, she found a small metal box, covered in rust. Her hands trembled with excitement as she lifted it. The box was locked, but there was a combination engraved on the lid. She recognized the numbers from the letters she had found in the wardrobe. With careful hands, Lena turned the combination lock. The lid clicked open, revealing a small collection of items inside. There were old coins, delicate jewelry, and several handwritten notes. Lena carefully read each note. They were messages from her aunt to her family, explaining why the house had been left to Lena. The letters spoke about trust, kindness, and responsibility. Her aunt had chosen Lena because she believed Lena would understand the value of the house beyond its walls and paint. She would see the house as a home full of memories and secrets, not just as a property. Lena felt tears rise to her eyes. She had always admired her aunt, but now she understood how wise and thoughtful she had been. Among the notes, there was also a small, folded piece of paper with a map of the forest behind the house. The map showed a hidden path leading to a clearing with a small wooden cabin. According to the note, her aunt had used this cabin as a private place for writing, reading, and thinking. Lena felt a surge of curiosity. She had to see this cabin. It might hold more secrets and treasures that her aunt had left behind. She spent the morning clearing the weeds along the path to the cabin. The forest was quiet, with birds singing and the wind rustling the leaves. Lena could hear small animals moving in the underbrush. It felt peaceful, yet exciting. After about 30 minutes of walking, she arrived at the clearing. There it was, a small wooden cabin, hidden among the trees. The walls were weathered, but it seemed sturdy. A small chimney rose from the roof, and a tiny flower garden grew near the entrance. Lena stepped inside carefully. The cabin smelled of wood and herbs. Dust covered the furniture, but everything was neatly arranged. On the table, there were notebooks, letters, and a small wooden box. Lena opened the box and found a stack of envelopes tied with a ribbon. Each envelope was addressed to her. Her heart beat faster. Her aunt had left messages specifically for her. Lena carefully opened the first envelope. Inside was a letter written in her aunt's handwriting. It spoke about courage, patience, and following one's heart. Her aunt encouraged Lena to explore the house, the garden, and the forest. She wanted Lena to discover the hidden treasures and learn from them. Every letter was full of wisdom and love. Lena felt as if her aunt was there with her, guiding her and sharing the lessons she had learned in her life. After reading several letters, Lena noticed a small trapdoor under a rug in the corner of the cabin. It was hidden very well, and she would never have seen it if she had not looked carefully. Lena knelt down and lifted the trapdoor. A narrow staircase led down to a small underground room. This room was different from the basement in the house. It was bright, with shelves filled with books, old tools, and jars of seeds. There were even paintings on the walls, carefully drawn and preserved. Lena realized this was her aunt's secret study. She explored every corner of the room. On one shelf, she found a notebook labeled Dreams and Ideas. Lena opened it and read about her aunt's plans for the house, the garden, and even the town. There were sketches of new rooms, gardens, and hidden paths. Her aunt had dreamed of creating a place full of beauty and discovery, and now Lena understood that she had inherited not just a house but a vision. While exploring, Lena found a small key hidden inside a hollow book. The key had an unusual shape, with a tiny heart engraved on it. Lena had no idea what it opened, but she felt it was important. She carefully kept the key in her pocket, determined to find what it belonged to. The room also contained a collection of old photographs, showing her aunt as a young woman exploring the forest, planting trees, and helping neighbors. Lena could see the kindness in her aunt's eyes, the same kindness that had touched so many people's lives. After hours of exploring the cabin and the underground study, Lena returned to the house. The sun was beginning to set, and the forest looked golden in the evening light. She felt tired but happy. The ruined house and the secret cabin had revealed so many treasures and messages, more than she had ever expected. Lena realized that her aunt had planned all of this carefully. Every hidden room, every note, every treasure was a way to teach Lena lessons about life, courage, and love. That night, Lena sat in the living room with the journals, letters, and treasures spread around her. She thought about everything she had discovered. The house was no longer ruined in her eyes. It was full of life, history, and stories. She understood that the value of the house was not in its walls or furniture, but in the memories, the secrets, and the love her aunt had poured into it. Lena felt a sense of purpose. She wanted to restore the house and the garden, not just for herself but as a way to honor her aunt. She wanted to preserve the hidden treasures, the letters, and the memories, and perhaps share them with others someday. Lena smiled, feeling a connection to her aunt stronger than ever before. Before going to bed, Lena placed the silver key she had found in the cabin on her bedside table. She knew it was a clue for another secret, another adventure. The house had already revealed so much, but she could feel that there was more waiting for her. Lena closed her eyes, imagining the discoveries yet to come, feeling excited for the days ahead. She understood that the ruined house was a gift beyond imagination. It had taught her lessons about courage, love, and patience. Lena finally slept peacefully, dreaming of hidden rooms, secret gardens, and treasures waiting to be discovered. She knew that the ruined house, once seen as worthless, was now a place of wonder and opportunity. The journey had just begun, and Lena was ready to explore every corner, uncover every secret, and embrace the legacy her aunt had left for her. The next morning, Lena woke up feeling a new sense of determination. The house, the cabin, and the hidden rooms had already revealed so many treasures and secrets. Yet she felt that her aunt had left something even more important for her to discover. Lena decided that today she would explore the house's attic. She had noticed a small, narrow staircase in the hallway that led up, but she had never climbed it. The letters and the journals mentioned the attic several times, hinting that her aunt had kept some of her most personal belongings there. The staircase creaked under Lena's weight as she climbed carefully. The attic door was small and heavy, and it resisted her push for a moment before opening. Inside, the room was dusty, with old trunks and boxes stacked against the walls. Sunlight filtered through a small round window, illuminating floating dust particles in the air. Lena took a deep breath. The attic felt like a place untouched for decades, holding memories frozen in time. She started with the largest trunk. It was heavy, but with effort, she lifted the lid. Inside, she found clothes, old photographs, and several neatly folded blankets. She carefully moved aside the items and discovered a thin envelope tucked at the bottom. The envelope was addressed to her in her aunt's handwriting. Lena's hands trembled as she opened it. The letter inside explained her aunt's hopes and dreams for Lena. She wrote about courage, kindness, and patience, but also about discovering one's true self. Her aunt had wanted Lena to learn to see the value in things that others might ignore. The ruined house, the hidden rooms, the underground cabin, and even the garden were all lessons in observation, care, and discovery. Lena smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. She realized that the house had been a test, a way to prepare her for challenges in life and for understanding the beauty in small things. Lena then moved to another trunk. This one was smaller but heavier. Inside, she found old journals and a few sealed envelopes. One envelope contained a map of the attic itself. There were markings indicating hidden compartments along the walls. Lena followed the map carefully and discovered a small panel behind some old boxes. She pressed it, and the panel swung open to reveal a narrow, hidden shelf. On it was a small wooden box, locked with a tiny latch. She opened the box and found a delicate silver key. Its design matched the one she had found in the underground cabin. Lena held both keys in her hands, wondering what the second one unlocked. Her curiosity grew stronger. She studied the letters and journals for any clue, but none directly mentioned the key. Lena realized that her aunt loved leaving mysteries for her to solve. Each clue, each hidden object, was a puzzle meant to teach her patience and careful thinking. Feeling encouraged, Lena left the attic and returned to the living room. She studied the floorboards carefully, remembering her aunt's notes about hidden spaces. After several minutes, she noticed a small square in the corner of the room that seemed slightly raised. Lena knelt and lifted it. Beneath the floor was a tiny trapdoor. She inserted the silver key from the cabin, and it fit perfectly. The trapdoor opened to a secret room beneath the living room. Lena carefully climbed down. This room was different from the basement she had explored before. It was bright and clean, with shelves full of books, journals, and boxes labeled with her aunt's careful handwriting. On a table in the center lay an open notebook. Lena walked over and read the first page. It was a detailed story of her aunt's life, written in her own words. Her aunt had documented her thoughts, experiences, and the lessons she had learned over the years. As Lena read, she realized that her aunt had lived a life full of kindness and curiosity. She had helped neighbors, cared for animals, and studied plants and herbs in her free time. She had kept notes about every discovery she had made in the house, the garden, and the forest. Lena felt a deep respect and admiration for her aunt. She understood why the house had been left to her. It was not just property, it was a guide for life. Lena spent hours in the secret room. She read stories about her aunt's childhood, adventures in the forest, and plans for the house. There were even letters from her aunt's friends, describing how she had helped them in ways that no one else knew about. Lena realized that her aunt had lived a full life of quiet heroism. Every discovery Lena made her feel closer to her aunt, as if she could understand her thoughts and feelings through the journals and letters. After exploring the secret room, Lena returned to the attic to continue her work there. She carefully examined every box and trunk, finding old photographs, letters, and small keepsakes. One box contained small handmade toys, suggesting that her aunt had enjoyed making things for children. Another contained pressed flowers and dried herbs, along with notes about their uses. Lena realized that her aunt had prepared this house not just for herself, but for Lena to learn from, to explore, and to appreciate. As evening approached, Lena stepped outside. The garden looked magical in the golden light. The wildflowers swayed in the breeze, and the forest beyond the yard seemed alive with secrets waiting to be discovered. Lena walked slowly through the yard, reflecting on everything she had learned. She felt a sense of purpose and connection that she had never experienced before. The ruined house, the hidden rooms, the underground cabin, and the attic treasures were all part of a journey her aunt had planned carefully. Lena sat on the old stone bench and held the 2 silver keys in her hands. She understood that they were not just keys to doors, but symbols of trust, patience, and discovery. Her aunt had given her more than a house, she had given her lessons in life. Lena felt determined to honor her aunt's memory by restoring the house, preserving the hidden treasures, and learning from every secret she uncovered. As night fell, Lena returned inside. She placed the journals and letters neatly on a table and sat quietly, thinking about the future. The house no longer seemed ruined. It was alive with stories, wisdom, and mysteries. Lena felt grateful for the chance to explore it, to uncover its secrets, and to understand the life of the woman who had raised her imagination and inspired her curiosity. Before going to bed, Lena looked at the keys one last time. She knew that there were more secrets waiting to be found, more lessons hidden within the house, and perhaps more surprises in the forest. Lena smiled, feeling ready for whatever challenges and discoveries lay ahead. The ruined house had become a place of wonder, learning, and adventure. Lena closed her eyes, feeling a connection to her aunt stronger than ever before, and drifted into sleep, dreaming of hidden rooms, secret messages, and the joy of discovery. The morning sun shone gently over the ruined house. Lena woke with a sense of excitement she had not felt before. She had explored almost every corner of the house, the attic, the basement, and the underground cabin. Each discovery had taught her lessons about her aunt's life, kindness, and curiosity. Yet Lena felt there was still one final secret waiting for her. She had a feeling that the silver keys she had found would lead her to something important, something that would complete the story her aunt had left behind. Lena decided to start her search in the living room. She examined the floor carefully, thinking about the hidden trapdoor she had discovered earlier. She noticed a faint outline near the fireplace. Kneeling down, she tried the second silver key. It fit perfectly in a small lock embedded in the floor. Lena took a deep breath and lifted the trapdoor. Below was a narrow staircase leading down to a room she had never seen before. The air smelled cool and earthy. She descended carefully, her heart beating with anticipation. At the bottom, Lena found a small, brightly lit room. This room was different from all the others. The walls were lined with shelves filled with neatly labeled boxes, books, and small cabinets. In the center was a wooden table with a large, closed chest. Lena approached it slowly, noticing the intricate carvings on its surface. The chest had a lock, and the key she had found in the attic fit perfectly. With a click, the chest opened. Inside, Lena found something she could never have expected. There were stacks of letters, notebooks, and a bundle of photographs, but there was also a small journal with her aunt's name engraved on the cover. Lena opened the journal and began to read. Her aunt had written about her hopes, dreams, and the reasons she had left the house to Lena. She explained that this house had been more than a home. It had been a place to teach patience, observation, and the value of discovering life's hidden treasures. As Lena read, she noticed a small envelope at the bottom of the chest. It was addressed to her. Her hands shook as she opened it. Inside was a letter in her aunt's familiar handwriting. The letter revealed the greatest secret of all. Her aunt had prepared a hidden gift for Lena, something that would change her life forever. It was not just material wealth or treasures, it was an opportunity, a challenge, and a legacy. The letter instructed Lena to follow a path through the garden that led to the forest behind the house. There, she would find a small, ancient tree with roots twisted over a large stone. Beneath the stone, her aunt had hidden a box containing a special treasure that Lena could use to help others and continue the work her aunt had started. Lena felt her heart race. She realized that her aunt had planned this moment carefully, making sure Lena would be ready to understand and appreciate the gift. Lena quickly made her way to the garden. The path was overgrown, but she pushed through the weeds with determination. Birds flew from the trees as she moved, and the sunlight created patterns on the ground. Soon, she reached the forest. She walked slowly, following the directions in the letter. After a few minutes, she found the ancient tree her aunt had described. Its roots wrapped around a large, moss-covered stone. Lena knelt down and carefully lifted the stone. Beneath it, she found a small wooden box, sealed with a lock. She used the second silver key, and the lock clicked open. Lena lifted the lid and gasped. Inside were several items that represented her aunt's wisdom and love. There were carefully preserved seeds of rare plants, notebooks with instructions for creating gardens and helping the environment, and letters written to people in need of guidance and support. There was also a small, sparkling gem that her aunt described as a symbol of hope, reminding Lena to always share kindness and help others. Lena held the items in her hands, feeling a deep connection to her aunt. She realized that the ruined house had never been about the building itself. It had been about teaching her how to see, discover, and appreciate the value in life, in people, and in small acts of love. Her aunt had left her a legacy, a way to continue the kindness and wisdom that had guided her life. Excited and inspired, Lena returned to the house. She carefully organized the treasures she had found, placing them in the study room in the basement. She began to plan how she could use the seeds, the notebooks, and the knowledge to restore the garden, help the community, and create a place where people could learn and find inspiration. Lena understood that the ruined house had been a beginning, not an ending. Over the next few weeks, Lena worked tirelessly. She cleared the garden, planted flowers, and restored the rooms in the house. She read through her aunt's journals, learning about the plants, the forest, and the small ways her aunt had helped people in the town. Lena felt connected to her aunt every day. The house, which had once seemed abandoned and empty, was now full of life, beauty, and purpose. One afternoon, as Lena sat by the pond, she thought about everything she had discovered. The hidden rooms, the secret compartments, the underground cabin, and the treasures in the forest had all taught her lessons she would carry forever. She understood the value of patience, observation, and care. She also realized the importance of sharing knowledge and kindness with others. Lena smiled, knowing that her aunt had trusted her to continue the work that had been started many years ago. Lena decided to create a small space in the house for visitors who wanted to learn about the garden, the forest, and the hidden treasures. She wrote notes for each discovery she had made, explaining their purpose and the lessons they held. She wanted others to feel the same sense of wonder and curiosity that she had felt. The ruined house was no longer ruined. It was a place of learning, adventure, and inspiration. One evening, as the sun set, Lena sat in the living room with the journals and treasures spread around her. She held the sparkling gem in her hand, feeling her aunt's presence and guidance. She understood that the greatest treasure of all was the love, wisdom, and care that her aunt had poured into the house and into life. Lena smiled, knowing that she had found her purpose. The ruined house, once a source of disappointment, had become the center of her life. It had taught her about discovery, patience, and the joy of helping others. Lena felt a deep sense of gratitude. She had inherited not just a house, but a legacy of love, kindness, and curiosity. She closed her eyes, imagining the adventures and discoveries that awaited her in the days to come. For Lena, the journey had begun in a ruined house, but it had led her to a place of hope, learning, and endless possibilities. She knew that her aunt had planned every detail carefully, leaving her with lessons that would guide her for a lifetime. The house, the garden, the forest, and the hidden treasures had all come together to teach Lena the most important lesson of all. The true value of life is found in love, curiosity, and the courage to explore the unknown. Lena stood by the window, looking out at the garden she had restored. The flowers bloomed, the trees swayed gently in the wind, and the pond sparkled in the sunlight. She felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The ruined house had transformed not just into a beautiful home, but into a place where memories, wisdom, and kindness lived on. Lena smiled, knowing that her life had changed forever. She was ready to continue her aunt's legacy, to share the lessons she had learned, and to embrace the adventures and discoveries that the future held. The house had once been ruined, but it had become a place of wonder, hope, and love. Lena understood that the greatest treasures are not always gold or jewelry, but the lessons, memories, and love that shape a life. And with that understanding, Lena felt ready for anything.